Welcome, everybody, to CFES Career Hour. Brilliant Pathways is sponsoring the Manufacturing Week through our STEM program. This is our second presentation this week, and we are going to be focusing on career pathways through trades and manufacturing. One of the key components of why this is so important for our young people to get exposure to possible careers is STEM is a major factor that drives economy and jobs. And gives our local people great opportunities for employment and support our local economy. So we have three local guests today. We have Patrick Leary. He's the CEO of PM Leary. We have Ben Lawton, and he is an electrical apprentice in our local union, which I'm really excited to hear his story because it's such a need to have more apprentice work in our unions. And we have Mizell Friedman. She is the director of CB Tech in Plattsburgh. So before we get started, I'm going to ask that each of our panelists give a little bit of a background on their pathway and why they feel the value and they're so passionate about STEM and manufacturing and guide our young people for potential career and pathway exploration. So, Mizell, I'm going to start out with you. Can you give us a little background on where you're from and how you ended up where you are and your pathway?
I'd love to. Thank you, Chris, and thank you, CFES, for hosting this event and having me. I'm very honored to have been asked to provide a little insight. As Chris mentioned, my name is Mizell Friedman. I am the very proud Director of Career and Technical Education for Clinton, Essex, Warren, Washington, BOCES. We serve as 16 school districts in Clinton and Essex County, and the school population is about 13,500 students. So it is really important that we provide the opportunity for students and the surrounding communities to understand and to know what programs we have and what they have access to. So for me, I grew up in Mechanicville, New York, which is near Saratoga, to give you a little idea. Mechanicville High School was a very small high school, kind of comparable to maybe not as big as Peru, but not as small as Willsboro. So my experience was I was a quote unquote Regents kid. And so I took the classes that I was told to take. And there were times every day a bus would pull up and a bunch of students that I knew, because, it's a small community, would get on a bus and disappear. And then they would come back. And then another group would get on the same bus and leave, and then they would come back. And I knew they went somewhere, but we never knew where and never knew what. And we knew that they were going to BOCES, and that was all we knew. And never did I have an opportunity as a high school student to learn for myself where they were going and what they were doing and why they were going. The story was left for us to make up on our own. And to be honest with you, we didn't really think that those opportunities were perhaps as good as the Regents opportunity that we were getting back at our home school. It wasn't until I went to college, because I was dead set on becoming a elementary teacher, and got my license, graduated from college, could not get a job here in the North Country because there were too many teachers and not enough jobs. So I started substitute teaching, and I found myself substitute teaching at the local tech center. And that was the first time I ever stepped foot into a tech center. And I was really angry that I never had the opportunity to decide for myself that a BOCES or a CB Tech program while I was in high school was something that I could have chosen to do if I wanted to. And that's where my journey started, Chris. That's when I knew it was my job to find out as much as I could about career and technical education, the rigor, the importance, the licenses, the college credits you could get while you were still in high school and not have to pay for it, and do whatever I could to make those opportunities known to students who are currently in high school, to their parents, to the community. And so fast forward 30 years, this is my 30th year in the game. I'm here, and I will take every opportunity to talk to folks about what tech centers have to offer. And although it might not be for everybody, I think it's for a lot more than people realize. So that's me in a nutshell. There's a lot of other details I left out, but that's me in a nutshell. I hope that helps give you a little insight as to why I'm here and why I'm so passionate about what I do. You're muted, Mr. Mizell.
Well, one of the things you mentioned is the first time you step foot in a career and tech center, and realize, wow, you had that wow moment. As CFES, we call that agility. You were able to adjust and, recalibrate and say, wow, this is something that I can take my passion for education and put it to use, and hopefully help a lot of kids. And having had many years experience collaborating with you, you certainly have helped many students in the greater North Country area. We're starting to fill up, which is great. So I do want to welcome all of our guests. We just started brief introductions from our panelists. If you do have questions for our panelists, you can put them in the chat, and we'll see them, and then we'll give you a chance to interact with them. So our next panelist is Patrick Leary. He is the CEO of PM Leary. He has a pretty interesting pathway as well. Pat, can you share your passion and your pathway to get to where you are today?
Sure. So my name, again, is Patrick Leary. I was a high school graduate from Peru Central. Myself, as Michelle, never had the opportunity or given the chance to attend CV Tech, which still to this day is a regret of mine. I just thought it would have been a better path for me in my situation. After Peru, I attended Norwich College in Vermont. It was a military school. I played both basketball and football there. After college, I still had no idea what I wanted to do. From that point, I was driving by a gentleman that was putting a big piece of glass and a 50 metric ton rock saw, which was a company from France, and I saw the gentleman was struggling putting it in when I was driving by, so I stopped to help him because it looked like the glass was going to crush him. After I helped him, the gentleman's name, Jean-Pierre, couldn't really speak English. He asked me to wait, and I was excited thinking he was going to get me $20, and I had some money for the day, and he came back with his boss, which then asked me if I wanted a job operating this 50-ton rock saw throughout the U.S. installing fiber optic interduct. With that, I did that for almost 3 years. When that was completed, they wanted me to go out of the country and run the equipment, which I decided I really didn't want to go to Cuba with armed guards protecting me running this machine. So then I was just searching locally for a job, and I went door to door looking. I was fortunate. I guess luck is what you call it. The previous 3 years, what I had for income, and when that stopped, I was trying to find something comparable, which was not easy. So I drove from local construction company to local construction company. Could not get hired, and I just found persistence. I knew this one company that had a great reputation, great pay. I knew they provided benefits and growth, and I would go once a week and ask if they could put my application on the top again, look at it. And I think the office got sick of seeing me, so they said, "Can you start tomorrow?" So that's how I landed the job there, and I started just an entry-level position as a laborer, not operating any equipment. Within 2 years, I was running equipment, and within 4 years, I became a foreman. At year 5, I was superintendent, and probably by year 7, I was running anywhere from $20 to $30 million jobs, and in charge of major infrastructure, bridges, roadways. And then 2008 and 9, when the recession hit, the company I was working for lost all government funding. All state and federal projects were shut down. I had to adapt because I had no job. No one was hiring, and that was the day I decided I was going to go to work for myself. That was in 2009, and I started with myself. I had a van, and I bought a local plumbing company that only had one part-time employee. So very, very small business from what I was used to. And it's just the start of my 10th year. This year, I've either started or bought 7 other companies, and also am involved in real estate here in the North Country. And we've got over almost 60 vehicles on the road, 5 different vac trucks, excavation equipment between the different companies, and I would say probably right around 60 employees right now, and that's my story.
So clearly you demonstrated our essential skills of perseverance and agility. And obviously you demonstrated leadership, to take a company that had the half of an employee and then build up a company to have over 60 employees is pretty remarkable. And I think for our young kids, the perseverance of continuing to go back to the construction company and ask them to put your application back on the top, sometimes you can't quit. So thank you, Patrick. I'd like to introduce Ben Lawton. He is an apprentice at our local electrical union, and I'd like to talk to him and have him talk to us a little bit about his pathway and the value of apprenticeship work. Welcome, Ben.
Thank you, Mr. Mizell. Like Mr. Mizell said, I'm an apprentice with the IBEW 910 Electrical Union. I, however, did not grow up in New York State. I grew up in Richmond, Virginia, and I've lived up here for a little over 3 years now. In high school, I like to think I was academically and leadership bound. I was an Eagle Scout. I stayed employed throughout high school. I worked at gyms, restaurants. I made sure that I had income coming in for as little as it was. And then I figured that after high school, I would pick up the usual path of going to college, which is kind of where people where I grew up were pushed to do. The opportunity for trades wasn't really pushed on me, and very similar to other panelists, I wasn't really able to go into the CB type school, stuff like that. So I tried the whole college thing, and it really wasn't my cup of tea. So when I left college, I fell back on my experience from back in high school, working in the restaurant business. I bartended a little bit, and then I moved up to New York, and I was presented the opportunity to take the entrance exam for the electrical union. And it basically was your algebra, geometry, basic calculus, and reading comprehension. And by taking that, you're able to allow yourself for interviews. And next thing you know, after a few interviews and a couple tests, I have found myself as an apprentice for the IBEW. I had never really done too much construction beforehand. I'd helped my father build a couple sheds and porches, stuff like that. I could swing a hammer. However, when it came to knowledge of high voltage work and, like Mr. Leary was just saying, running fiber optic interduct, that stuff I'd never done before. But joining the apprenticeship program, it was a little scary at first, but the mentorship that you're given, no one is really left behind, and as long as you show heart, you're definitely able to succeed. However, you have to be prepared, though. It's very honest work to be proud of, and it's very difficult work. It's labor intensive, and you're earning your dime at that point. However, I was able to make great connections. I met new people every single day, people I'll see out in public, people that have done favors for me, people that I'll do favors for. It's a very tight-knit community of the blue-collar working class, and I love that fact. And I've also found the more you put into it, the more you'll get out of it. You'll earn respect, and you'll earn you'll be able to progress your future in the trade much easier. I love what I do. I absolutely do. I'll be topping out here in 2 years. And then with my training, I'll be able to do electrical work almost anywhere in the country. Everyone needs power. So joining the electrical union, I knew that from the start, that you want a promising future and a career that pays well and provides a promising future. That's pretty much my story.
Thank you. No, one of the things that you touched on was, I mean, an apprenticeship is a built-in mentoring program, which with here at CFES, that is, 1/3 of our core principles. And certainly the other thing is you create a network. You create a network within the trades unions, and it's not just the electricians. Can you just expand a little bit more on how the apprenticeship is fostered through mentoring? And as well, can you tell our students and our staff members who are on about the articulation with your apprenticeship and your applied associate's degree at Clinton Community College?
Absolutely. I'll start with the first one. So basically, electricians, you're separated into journeymen and apprentices. So your journeymen are those who have successfully completed their 5-year program and are licensed, certified electricians with the union. So then you have your apprentices, which is the first 5 years. And during that time, you are engaged not only 40 hours a week working full-time with journeymen, but you're also 6 hours a week, you're taking classes with teachers who are also journeymen, teaching you the more of the books and the math that comes behind what we do. Now, 40 hours a week, you're next journeyman, you're next to multiple, even some other apprentices too, and you're constantly learning. There is hands-on every single day. And what I found awesome about the program is that you're encouraged to ask questions. You don't do anything unless you know how to do it. And when you're able to ask a journeyman a question, he's able to show you the correct way. You're able to pass that knowledge on to further apprentices when you top out. The mentorship and the relationship between journeymen and apprentices is great. I've never, obviously, some journeymen are more helpful than others, and you tend to find those that are more helpful and ask them for help because they want to ensure the sustainable development of the trade, and they want to make sure that you are being safe and knowledgeable in everything you do. And then also with the associate's degree, I don't know too much about it. However, our apprenticeship supervisor, Alan Smith, has told us a lot about it. I think we have to take an extra class or two with Clinton Community College, and we'll get the associate's degree. But I believe it's all, if not, it might be the wrong word, dual enrollment. I'm not sure, that might be it. Or the classes that I'm taking now through the apprenticeship program at the Union Hall will also count for college credits at Clinton Community College. There's a link there that they've set up.
Right. That's definitely that, I think Michelle's going to touch on shortly is, dual enrollment credit through whether it's an apprenticeship or CV Tech coursework, are invaluable to our students because it does get you on a college path, but it also gets you on a path if you want to go into a trade. Michelle, can you touch base with us a little bit on pathways in at CV Tech or careers, and also how kids can use this to go into apprenticeships, to go into the workforce, and also go and pursue college careers?
Sure. You broke up a little bit, but I think I got the gist of what you asked me to share with you. So welcome to everyone that came on after I had my turn. My name is Mizell Friedman, and I am the director of CV Tech. What the most common misconception about programs at CV Tech is that if you are going to college, then you don't go to CV Tech. You either are going to go to college or you're going to go to CV Tech. There couldn't be anything further from the truth. CV Tech is just another mechanism to get you as to what's next. At the end of the day, everybody, unless one of you, and it would be awesome if it was me, wins one of these almost $1 billion mega millions tickets that are out there, at some point, everybody has to go to work. Whether you go to work right after you graduate from high school, or whether you go to work after you graduate from your 2-year associate's program, or a 4-year program, or 8-year master's program, everybody's going to work. And you're going to be at work more than you're home. You are going to spend more time with the people you work with than your own family. So, by all means, everyone, find something you absolutely love to do. And so, what we have at CV Tech, or for the North Country students, 23 different opportunities to test drive a career before you actually have to do it for the rest of your life. The cool thing is that if you go to CV Tech and learn the skill, it doesn't mean it has to be your life's work, but it is a skill you will have for life. A big difference that way. So you could still take the auto tech class and never necessarily need to want to work in a shop all your life, but think about how nice it is to have those skills to be able to work on your engine, or maybe work part-time to put yourself through college. So please, if one takeaway, don't look at it as a CV Tech program as an either or option. And here's a couple other reasons why to think that. While you're at CV Tech, all of our programs are 2 years. So you guys would come in as sophomores, as 11th graders, and train with us 11th grade and 12th grade. In a regular world, when we're not having a pandemic, you would come half day with a CV Tech program, and the other half of the day at your home school. And we would work out all those details. But as you go through the 2-year training with us, you will have the opportunity in every single one of our programs, because it's required by us, by the state of New York, to have opportunities for you to get college credit while you're taking your high school credit. That's what we call our dual credit options. You will also be able to earn a license or a credential by the time you graduate from our program. And you will also be eligible to do work-based learning, whether it's a job shadowing or up to a paid internship, where that means instead of coming to school, you go to work and they pay you, and it counts as school. It's super incredibly amazing to think that would work, right? And here's some great things that happen. You always wanted to be a nurse, right? That's all you ever thought about. Oh my God, I want to be a nurse. I want to be a nurse. You take our program, and at the end of your junior year, you become a certified nurse assistant. How cool is that? You can actually work in the field the summer of your senior year of high school. And you may say to yourself, oh my God, I just love being a nurse. Now I want to be an RN. Now I want to be a doctor. And I'm going to go through. Or guess what else you could say? Oh my God, I never want to do this ever again. And you are in the middle of a 4-year program and getting into a nursing program at a college and having to shift gears in the middle of it. So just as valuable as it is to find out that you love it, it's equally as important to find out, oh my God, I thought working with animals was all loves and kisses and goobers on my face, but there's some real not so fun stuff about veterinary science that I never really thought about. So these are great opportunities for us to get to college credit, get to work experience with professionals in the field, like our folks on the panel. Like, you may even work with them. How cool is that? And also get a license to actually do what you're hoping to continue your pathway. So it's a very valuable opportunity on a lot of levels. So, Mr. Mizell, I'm not sure if I touched on all of those components for you.
You did. I mean, obviously you are the queen of CV Tech, and you understand all the possible pathways, and you guys have had so many success stories, with kids landing jobs, or actually there was a point in time one of the students at Peru won the national competition for design, drawing, and production, or the I think they used to call it design, drawing, and production, but
Animation and visual arts.
So our kids in the North Country have had a great opportunity through your program. But I also think one of the things that the students should realize is going through your technical ed grades program. It can open up so many doors, and it can open up doors than necessarily just saying, I'm just going to go away to school, but not what I want to do. It certainly gives our opportunity. I want to jump over to Patrick for a minute. And I've known Patrick for a long time, and he was always an extremely hard worker. But I'd like him to discuss, in the workforce, what are the essential skills somebody in your company is looking for to help, attain a career in trades and business and industry, and what advice can you give to our students regarding essential skills, Patrick? Pat, you might be muted. Did we lose Pat? Okay, we'll shift gears real quick. Ben, there was a question in here. One of the questions is, beyond the 40 hours a week, how many hours of classwork do you have to do at night at the Union Hall to work through the to get the apprenticeship complete and the associate's degree?
Yeah, I'd love to touch on it. So I'm going to break it down a little bit. So you say, working 40 hours a week, sometimes you can work more than that. Overtime is a big thing when it comes to trades, especially electrical work. So given that ability to make a little extra cash is always a good thing too. Now, when it comes to classes, think about it kind of like your semesters. Starting in, I believe it's late August or early September, it'll be 6 hours a week. Generally be a Tuesday, Thursday from 5:30 to 8:30, or a Monday, Wednesday, depending on which year or level you're at. And then after Christmas, what our local does is after Christmas, which is right now, that we drop it down to just 1 day a week. There is a requirement for, I believe it's 9,000 total hours of on-the-job and off-the-job training when it comes to your apprenticeship, and that's how you're able to top out. Now, understanding too that with trades, layoff is also a big thing. Sometimes there is no work, and sometimes you are forced to collect unemployment and take a few weeks off until there's work available. Right now, it is layoff season. During the wintertime, work slows up a little bit. Sometimes you have plenty of it, sometimes you don't. But generally, in my 3 years so far, I've only been unemployed for maybe 2 months. Generally, you're put at work, and when you work hard and you show you're worth it, they tend to keep you on the jobs too. So that's another reason to keep moving and earning the respect from your other fellow journeymen and apprentices. Now, can you do it without obtaining a degree? Absolutely. I don't have a degree. I simply took the entrance exam, which you can sign up for online. They have many days available that you can do it. It's, like I said before, it's going to be your basic algebra, geometry, math problems, and also a reading comprehension section. And they both entail great with electrical work. Math is very involved, a lot of physics too. And being able to read blueprints, schematics, and stuff like that really helps too. So the reading comprehension is a necessity for the job. Other than that, I think that's, yes, you can definitely do it without obtaining a degree, and you will get your associate's degree when you top out also. Now, different trades have different, not so much requirements, but I'm not sure if joining the pipe fitters union, if you're going to get a degree from that, because I'm not a pipe fitter. However, they generally all require just an entrance exam to make sure that you're competent enough to do the job. And then after that, it's all up to you. It's what you make it.
Right. Ben, thanks for this. Yes, the entrance test is to be a journeyman. I think we have Patrick back on the phone. Are you there, Pat?
Yeah, sorry about that. I couldn't unmute myself.
Not a problem. What I was asking you was, we spend a lot of time at CFES emphasizing essential skills, and some people call them soft skills and work readiness skills. But as a corporate business owner, can you talk to our students about what essential skills that you value the most, and how can they take this advice, turn it into positives, and find positive pathway careers?
One of the biggest things I look for when I'm hiring is not necessarily experience. That's actually not one of the last things, but it's close to one of the last things I look for. Mainly, it's just being a good person, and it starts right from holding the door open for someone when you're walking into a store. If you see someone left the shopping cart blowing across, put the shopping cart back. If you're that person at the workplace is going to walk through the parking lot on the way to their place of work and pick up garbage that's blowing across. And all of people that tend to live in that direction are the ones that get to work 10 or 15 minutes early. That same person that sees a coworker or a fellow student that's struggling to get a task done, they're going to lean over and say, "Hey, I can give you a hand. Let's work on this to get you better," and not just be the hero when they're receiving 90s and their fellow student is receiving 60s. That same person that held that door open is going to lean over to a coworker and help them get better also. One of my favorite employees that I have, he's been with me only 2 years. He'd never hooked up to a trailer, never held a rake. He's been here 2 years. He's never missed a day of work. He's never been late. And he's running equipment now, and it all goes back to just doing the right things and willingness to help anyone out. And the skill level will just thrive by doing those things.
So, Patrick, we had Ben talk a little bit about mentoring, but you do something very unique in your company, and like you just referenced the young man who has been with you for 2 years and didn't have any work experience. How do you foster mentoring and your own internal internship in your company?
We have we kind of call them ride-along programs. Like I will, most of the work we do, we bill out and charge at a rate of having two people. Say it's a project that entails 2 employees. I'll send a third person with them, or a ride-along who's per se in training. I don't bill the customer for that person, and until they gain the experience to be able to go with a crew, not be in training. Some people ride along for 2 weeks, some 2 months, some it'll be a year before we are comfortable with them going on their own.
That and that's something that you just basically designed yourself.
And the reasoning for that is why I'm here today speaking. There's not enough education early on. Not enough people are taking advantage of CV Tech and these technical trade schools that produce a great career. I have many employees that make a lot more money than people that are not in the trade industry.
Certainly, one of the things that I think is really important for our students to know is our companies like PM Leary, or even through CV Tech, and this would probably be more for our upper grade students in high school. Do you offer any ability to them to do like an internship or summer work employment where they can get some job experience, learn essential skills, and sometimes find out this is not what I want to do for a living. Sometimes the best job you can ever have is the one you hate and realize it's not what I want to do. I'll ask both Michelle and Pat to jump in on that one.
Well, we have participated in that. I think we've had 6 different students from CV Tech who came and did ride-along days where they went with our technicians or the excavation crew performing dirt work. We've also had students work with some of our managers and estimators, our estimating projects on the building and construction side. And definitely, I know we were looking into the summer programs also, but with the pandemic, that kind of came to a halt.
Michelle, can I add to that?
So each one of our programs has to have an industry advisory council or committee that is working with the industry experts. So those advisory committee business and industry partners provide those shadowing opportunities, paid or unpaid internships, and other things. One of the things I wanted to mention about what Patrick has said is we get calls all the time from our business partners with vacancies and asking us, do you have anybody from the construction trades? And they tell us time and time again, we can teach them all the technology. What we can't teach them is how to show up on time, how to work well in a team, how to know when your team is struggling and how to contribute. So they're asking us not who's your best electrical design student. They're asking us who do we believe would be the best fit for our company. We can take them to the next level as far as technology and skill set, but we can't change not being able to not use your phone on the work floor, or not knowing to call your supervisor if you're going to be out sick, or sneaking out a couple minutes early, and those types of things. So our business and industry partnership is very strong. They provide a lot of on-site opportunities to be at their place of business, to show the students how what they're training for here applies in the workforce. We don't do any summer programming like that, but we do get calls throughout the summer that we connect our students to. But just because you're really good at it doesn't necessarily mean that you are going to be the choice of the employer. And that's really important to note.
Keep forgetting to unmute. We're getting close to wrapping this up, but I would want to encourage our students that Patrick, Michelle, Ben, they're vested in your future as well as theirs. You can't run a company like Patrick's and not have valuable employees. But they also really care about our area and our community in the North Country. But also, if you have questions or you want to reach out to them and find out more, they would be more than willing to answer an email or get on a phone call. That's one of the things. We didn't talk a lot about networking, but for our young kids, if you can learn that skill, they're not going to say, no, I'm not talking to the student from Beekmantown Middle School. They're going to pick up the phone because they genuinely want to help you, but it's going to potentially benefit them to have a future employer, or a future student, or somebody to work alongside. So, I encourage our students, use your networking skills. We do have a question coming in from Michelle. I don't know if you can see that. Are there opportunities during a regular school year for 5 minutes who are interested in the tech program?
There are opportunities when we're not in the pandemic. Typically, we work with each of our 15 school districts guidance departments, our 8th graders are provided the opportunities to come on site and visit the programs. Typically that's done through their home and careers time frame. And then again, as sophomores, we also always allow for one-on-one opportunities with students and families who may not be familiar with the CV Tech experience. So oftentimes what happens is our 8th graders will come on a visit, and then their parents will call us and arrange a private meeting where they would come up and have those questions answered as well. So we do that through the school districts. We're not quite sure how we're going to do that this year, but we are working on it. And we continue to, actually some of our school districts, many of our school districts have now added their 5th graders to the visitation and exploration cycle as well. Because it's not just about coming here, it's about having an opportunity to learn a little bit more about the career cluster itself. So oftentimes we suggest to our home and careers folks or anyone that's really doing some career exploration to use our website at our CV Tech site to click on all of our programs to learn more about the cluster itself, just as a resource, not necessarily as a recruitment tool. I hope that answered them.
Yeah, no, and in future middle school students, CV Tech always does a wonderful job in the spring running CV Tech open house. And your schools will advertise that. And I would encourage students, don't wait till your sophomore year to make that visit. Do it when you're in middle school. Do it as a freshman. We are getting ready to wrap up. What I'd like each of our panelists to do, briefly, give our students a couple words of advice. If you have a favorite quote, share that with them. Ben, I'm going to start with you.
Well, I can start with a quote. For the failing to prepare, so preparing to fail. So make sure when you're young, you stay on the right track. You might not have your whole life figured out right now, but don't settle for less and make sure you enjoy what you're doing. Not everyone is going to enjoy work every single day. That's why we call it work. If it were fun, we'd call it fun. But make sure you enjoy what you're doing and make sure that you're staying on the right track, academically, leadership-wise. And remember, a job is a job. There's no disgrace in what you're doing. As long as you're employed and you're pulling in food for your table and you're trying to better yourself, that's what matters. So keep on the right path and aim high.
Patrick.
The one I've always liked, and I have a lot of people that always tell me, how lucky I am. Everyone that says how lucky, but the one thing that everyone has to understand is that the harder you work, the luckier you get. Has been one of the best quotes I've ever that I always keep with me on a daily basis. Is just to work hard and try to do the right thing. Thank you,
Michelle.
Patrick, I'm going to steal that. I love that. Thank you so much. My go-to quote is, in all seriousness, you can. End of story. End of story. If you feel it in your heart, you can do it. There's going to be barriers, there's going to be roadblocks, but you have to trust yourself. You have to be your own best friend, your own advocate. If it's something you believe in, you can make it happen. I'm desperately trying to make the Mega Millions happen. Now, that's an unrealistic target, but I will tell you, I've been in my career for 30 years. And there are really tough days. And recently there's been a lot of tough days. But I absolutely love what I do. For me, it's not a job. It's not just a paycheck. It's part of who I am. It's part of what I always want. And I ask you guys to make sure that when you're making these decisions, that you have that same genuine affection for and passion for what you're doing, because your life's work isn't just a paycheck; it's a reflection of you. So I just invite you to do something that makes you feel really proud and really special.
Awesome. That is wonderful advice from three really special people. Lastly, I'd like to close this out. One of the things that's really important with trades and manufacturing is seek out a mentor. Seek out somebody who exemplifies everything that our guests talked about today. Hard work, commitment, be a good person, be prepared, do the right thing. When you see those people, those are the kind of people who want to mentor. So I encourage our young people, find quality mentors and learn from them as well. Michelle, Ben, and Patrick, thank you so much for sharing in our Manufacturer and STEM Week. You guys are awesome. And again, anybody who has questions, please reach out. You can reach out to me, see if get you connected with those three. You want to make a personal connection. Did you have one question, Michelle?
No, I just playing around with the buttons on the bottom. I'm so sorry.
Okay, so okay. Well, listen. Thank you, everybody. Please talk to me, and I'll get them. You guys were awesome. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Take care.